Hello and welcome back. I've now done a couple of interviews with people who are allo, who don't identify as asexual. And one thing that's come up both times is the misconception that there's no sort of sexual aspect to an asexual's life. And I don't think this is true in general. It can be true for certain people who identify as asexual, but it isn't for everyone. And one big reason why people might think this is because they conflate libido with sexual attraction. And so I would like to spend this video explaining what I see as the difference between the two. So let's start with libido. Libido is defined as your sex drive, or your desire for sexual activity. People can have either a high or a low libido. Someone who has a low libido wouldn't have that drive for sexual activity often, whereas someone with a high libido might frequently or even daily have a desire for some sort of sexual activity. Libido doesn't have a direction, so it's just an innate urge to do something sexual. It's often compared to an itch that you might want to scratch. It's not. It's definitely something completely physical, and it's there. We have a libido because it gives us as a species an incentive to have sex and to reproduce, but it doesn't necessarily need to be satisfied through sexual intercourse. You can satisfy your libido by masturbating or by having forms of sexual activity which aren't meant for reproduction. I've seen the analogy between sex and food used. So a libido would be your hunger. So you might be hungry, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily craving any food in particular. It's just a physical need. It's worth noting that sex isn't a need in the same way as food, drink, and sleep are. It's not necessarily necessary to survive, but it is important to a lot of people. So the last point I wanted to go over in terms of libido is that asexuals, people who identify as asexual, can have a libido. This can range, like with anyone else, from a low to a high libido. So asexuals might just be able to ignore it and go about their day and never think really to any extent about their libido. But on the other hand, some asexuals may have a really high libido and they may want to satisfy that libido through masturbation. Alternatively, they might do it through sex. You can be asexual, not feeling sexual attraction, but still satisfy libido through sex. Basically, the point I want to stress is that the body, the physical body of someone who identifies as asexual or on the A spectrum functionally works the same as anyone else's. You wouldn't say that gay people's bodies work completely differently to straight people's bodies. They're the same thing, but what the difference is sexual attraction and your orientation, which is a mental thing as opposed to a physical thing. And that leads us rather nicely onto sexual attraction. Sexual attraction is the desire to have sex or do sexual things with someone. So the clear difference here is that it has a target. Where libido is directionless, it is just a drive for some sexual activity. Sexual attraction is a desire to be with that person or a desire to be with that gender in general. So whereas your libido kind of determines the strength of your sexual drive, the sexual attraction determines who it is or whom it is directed towards. You can be, for example, heterosexual but have a really low libido, and at the same time you can be asexual but have a really high libido. But also I want to make clear that I'm not saying that sexual attraction isn't innate to a person. It is, but in a different way to libido is. It's something that you're born with, it's something that you can't change intentionally. It might change due to the fluidity of sexuality, but it's not a choice. Sexual attraction, sexual orientation isn't. It is still an innate drive that you have, it's just mental as opposed to physical. So going back to our food analogy, sexual attraction might be wanting a specific thing. So this helps if we stay with the food analogy with hunger, because hunger is libido. You can be hungry but not want anything in particular, and conversely, you can want a particular food but not be hungry. So you don't necessarily need to have that drive to want to have sex with someone. So I might want to eat a chocolate cake, but I might not be hungry. So people who identify as asexual do not feel sexual attraction. So they don't want to have sex with people innately. There might be other reasons why they might have sex. So it might be to please a partner, or it might be because they have that libido and they want to satisfy it and they're in a relationship and they don't mind sex. So maybe they think, okay, I'm going to have sex because my partner wants it. I want to do something sexual. That can be masturbation or sex. And since we both kind of want it in some way, let's do sex. Obviously that line of thinking won't work for everyone, but it is a reason why some aces might want to have sex. Yeah, so that was a quick overview of my thoughts about libido and sexual attraction, how they're different. Let me know what you think. Do you think that this was good video? Do you have any comments about it? Do you think there's something I said wrong? Are there any suggestions for future videos which you would like me to make? If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. I post videos every Saturday, so if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. That is all I had to say today. Have a wonderful day, and I shall see you next time. I do kind of want to eat a chocolate cake now. I have brownies. I'm going to eat one of those in a minute after this video is done.